Welcome to the Zombz aka Angry at Zombz Devlog. So I made this game for the TriJam, which is a 3-hour game jam, and you're allowed to go over and still submit, but you just tell them you went over. So I'm never really sure how much time I spend, so I just say like 3 hours plus. That's what I said this time. I should just do in a block of time, but my brain doesn't really work like that, so that's what I like about this jam is that I can do it in spurts. So let's try this game. Oops, I'm still on the lose screen. So about the controls, I don't really know what it was about mouse clicking or why I wanted to click for attack. But something about it, I guess, I feel like it's just fire and it feels weird to hit the keyboard. Like I said, this is a 3-hour game jam. And I like the concept and the way they talk about it because it's like finish your game even if you go over 3 hours. It's about learning and planning, and the planning doesn't count for a part of it. So that's one thing I do where I spend a lot of time planning. I've spent a ton of time planning. So one of the things that I thought was super funny for some reason is when I was trying to get other zombies in and I pulled the grandma zombie up into Mixamo and it defaulted or something, or maybe I had the dance thing up or I clicked it by accident. And I just thought it was super funny that she's this grandma zombie all messed up dancing across my screen, and it just cracked me up. So these are my planning papers, and I guess I really did kind of stick to my planning now that I'm looking at it. My player experience was supposed to be intense though, and I really did kind of go with more fast and clicking the enemies, the game loop. I did my picture, so my I guess that's my game design picture, and then another page where I'm talking about what I want to learn and remember, the fear. One of the questions I was thinking about is what was the most satisfying thing that I did? And I would say it was probably this collider right here. And it was very satisfying to try to figure out the logic of it and try to implement it. So I had to add 2 colliders on each person and see how it worked. I started making a thing about what I needed to do and the different conditions in the collider because I was trying really hard to figure out what I would do with it. It enters the collider. I can hit because I want to have a mechanic where if you click at the wrong time, it doesn't kill them. Because a lot of games play like this, you just click forever. And when you do that, it just, you kill everything. I wanted to make it so that if you clicked, you could get a negative. So if you click inside of it, you get +1, and the exit collider that's not destroyed, because initially I destroyed the game object, you'd get -1 if it hit it. What sped up the process in my game jam, I was thinking about this, and I would have to say it's the music singleton. I forgot until right at the end of the project that I needed music. So I went into my game jam 2 game jams ago and grabbed a singleton for the music right out of the game jam scripts. And I made a quick singleton script from that and threw it right in. And it was really fast and satisfying to have something that I knew how to do and had already prepared. And it's kind of cool because it's its own separate singleton script, so you don't even have to connect it to anything. Now I know singletons aren't the best choice, but for a game jam like this, they really are a good choice for music. So what did I have to research? A big thing I had to research was procedural development of the levels. So I'm going to grab some right here. Now see, what I don't understand, I swear when I put this on, it did not look like this. I used a texture like this and didn't realize it would look like this in game. It kills me. I don't know what this is. I think it's from Unity. It's gotta be because it said Unity. But I did not use a texture that looked like that. Like I used the flat textures that like covered the whole thing. So what happened is I really wanted to do procedural generation, and I looked it up, and on YouTube I found a video on how to do procedural generation, a Code Monkey video, and it was a really good video because it told me exactly what to do, but yet like it was easy for me to understand so that it was easy for me to learn, so I could easily do it again. It did take me longer than I would have hoped to understand it or to get it, but I did get it. You know, I just realized what it might have been a good way to do procedural generation was actually if I put these out like this instead of leaving them in the prefab area. Yeah, so I was in the prefab area when I was creating these, and I went through each one in here, but I'm wondering if it would have been easier when I was out in the whole outside area, like set them up to make sure they all look good. That probably would have been a lot better. But see, I don't see any of these textures having that texture that's UV unwrapped weirdly. So I don't know where that came from. So I might do this from now on where I just put these out here if I'm doing a procedural generated level so that everything's out in the actual viewport instead of in like the prefab areas, and then just save them as prefabs. I would say asset management can really bog you down. Like I had a bunch of Cinti assets that I used. The problem is they weren't set up for animation, and for some reason I thought they would be. They were rigged already, but I don't know why I thought it was difficult to do the animation, but I got a couple working, and then I started having trouble with getting any more working. I knew that I knew I was just buying 3D models, but I don't know why I thought they would have animation set up or something. I was having a lot of trouble with getting them to work, even though I felt like I was pulling them. I put them in Mixamo and then I'd pull it out and it still wasn't working. And so I couldn't just drag and drop a bunch of different ones on. So I just used the same one and put different colors on it. But it did turn out that it took me way too long for that. And that's something that I think that I should look into before the next game jam, just to make sure. So something else I learned is that my project files. So I decided that since I was looking into the 2D running, I looked up how to set that up, just the initial 2D running scripts, endless runner scripts. The person who did the video did a hierarchy in a different way than I did. They kind of, instead of having scripts in one folder and stuff, they did it where player was all together so that they could export it, which is kind of a cool idea. So like 2D runner player, here it is. But because I tried to do that, I lost all my stuff. And I couldn't find like where it was. Oh my gosh, this is craziness. Too many zombies. So I couldn't find where my scripts were at some point, and so I had to start going through and trying to fix it all up. And then at the end, because I couldn't even figure out where any of my stuff was. So I found out, do not randomly try a new hierarchy when you're doing a game jam. Another thing that was funny is that my friend noticed a couple of glitches in the game. So one thing I found really interesting is that I didn't play long enough, or I don't know if I could stay alive long enough, I didn't try hard enough to find some of the glitches. And I had noticed a few of them, but I wasn't able to recreate them, and I just thought I was wrong about what the glitches were, but it turns out maybe I should do a little more play testing. So one of the things he realized is that once your anchor multiplier, once your like slider multiplier, anchor, dang it. So what he realized is that once your anchor multiplier went to 0, you couldn't get it back up past there, no matter what. And it turns out, I think that I didn't limit it to 0, so I think it was going more negative, and so he couldn't get it back up because he had too many negatives. He was staying alive though, but it wasn't positive enough. Another thing he found out is that my sliders, apparently I had them as interactable, and I didn't realize there was a checkbox on the sliders to check off interactable. That was a real easy fix, but it was definitely something I didn't realize. Apparently he got stuck one time on one of those little ones that were off, the little place where you get stuck running, the one I said there was a glitch, and he dragged his anchor all the way up and cheated and got a lot of points. And I don't know how he got more points, but he told me or sent me a screenshot about how many billions of points he had. I did learn you have to turn your slide off not to be interactable. I would say overall something that's cool for me is that this is my first game jam game that kind of actually worked. So the first one I did that was actually a really good game, I felt like it was a 2D platformer, but it was a 4D game jam. I tried to make it so that you can just click different levels because I didn't think people would play through to see the end levels, which I wanted them to see. So I made this level where you could click all the different levels, and the UI not being attractive really, I think, hurt the vibe of my game. And it also glitched. And then my singleton that I tried to throw in at the last second for that game jam wasn't working. And so it ended up playing the music 3 times. And so I'm really glad because this is my full working project of this TriJam. and full working game. I need to go back and fix that first game because it really was cute, but the 3-hour game jam means a lot to me, and I'm really enjoying it because every time I just want to get a little better. It pushes me to get faster, and it makes me go through the entire process and practice and hone my skills in a very short time. So it also forces me to do a whole game, and then I'm now doing the devlog, and I may start streaming. We'll see about that. And I really like how this is not expecting perfect games for the 3 hours, but I'm forcing myself to learn, to see what I like and I don't like, and how to start and to finish a project. And if you never do it, you never learn how to do it. So I'm really enjoying doing all of this. And thank you for watching and listening to my devlog, and thank you for playing my game.